me, are you okay? I'm the social worker here at the school. I'm concerned about you. Like, noticing you're pacing around. Is everything okay?
I think so.
Can we get the emotional support, Leo, please?
Wait, the what? Thanks.
That's good. Hello, Williamsville East, and welcome back to the Bonfire. I'm here today with Ms. Taberski, our school social worker. Thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome.
So first, I just want to start off by talking to our students, educating them about what a social worker actually does and what your role is here at Williamsville East.
So my role here in the school is I'm a part of our mental health team. My office is located within guidance, and so my role is similar to that of the school counselors in the sense that I am available to support students. However, I don't get involved with making schedules, college planning, that sort of thing. I'm just available to help students with whatever they may need. And so I work with some students for a short period of time. Sometimes it's a longer period of time. It really depends on what it is that they may need. And referrals are very informal, so sometimes I get a call from a parent who might be concerned about their child, or a teacher may be recognizing that there's a change in a student's affect or performance and they're concerned, and so they refer a student to me. And sometimes kids just refer themselves. They know that they need someone to talk to, and then they come down and introduce themselves, or just find a way to come to guidance and say, hey, is there someone available I can talk to? And so that's my role in the school, is to just be available to students. And it could be about anything. Sometimes it's stress at school. It could be difficulties at home. It might be personal stress. I have a lot of students who struggle with some mental health issues such as depression or anxiety. Anxiety is very high right now, so that's a common one, I would say. But it really depends on whatever issue the student is dealing with and their comfort level. I always tell students that conversations I have with them are confidential, so they're private. My office is private itself, and so I think students find comfort in being able to have a place in school where they can go to kind of decompress and talk about whatever it is that's on their minds. High school can be a challenging time. It can be a great time in someone's life, and it can also be stressful depending on what someone has going on. So my job is just to be supportive to anyone who needs me in the school.
And I know all your conversations are confidential, but have you seen any trends over time at your time here? I mean, in terms you talked about anxiety as really on the rise. Is there anything that you'd like to highlight as a problem that we're seeing right now?
I think this generation of teenagers is really different from previous generations in the sense that they pack so much into a day. Yes. I talk to students and say, tell me about your life or your daily schedule. What's happening in your life? What are you up to? And they will list from the time they get up until the time they go to bed at
the laundry
1, 2
list
o'clock in the morning, laundry list.
Yeah, the laundry list of clubs and all of the things.
Absolutely.
I am this, and right.
Yeah, it's just such a packed schedule. And I think that's different from previous generations. And so sometimes adults will say, what do teenagers have to be stressed about? What are they worried about? They're kids. They should just be having fun. But I think it's much more typical now for students to feel a lot of pressure, to be involved in so many things. And a lot of times they're all good things, but there's a limit to that, and sometimes if it reaches that limit or it's over that limit, then it can be at the cost of someone's mental health, and that's where you see people stop taking care of themselves, not getting enough sleep, or there's no time for just a social life, friends, just things like that are really important for a person's mental health. And so I think that's a change that I've noticed, and hopefully the pendulum swings back the other way and there's more of a balance, because I think it's definitely the anxiety is something I see is pretty common.
Yeah, there's a big focus on all that resume building and trying to have that list of things that you do over, you don't want it to go all the way the other way, but focusing on healthy activities and moderation, definitely.
Absolutely.
It's a huge help. So then we're going to transition into Flavors of East, something that you really, spearhead at the school. Do you see that as a way to promote healthy activities and promote something fun and social? We talked about that, maybe a need for that more in students' lives. Was that how the event was kind of conceived, or as a method of student outreach?
So the focus of the event is really about celebrating diversity, the diversity of our school, the diversity of our community at large. And having said that, I think in terms of mental health, it's not necessarily an activity that promotes good mental health, but I think it does promote a connection to school. And I think that that's important for someone's mental health in the sense that that's a protective factor when a student feels valued and connected. That's really important. And I think this event has the potential to do that, to make connections. It's a shared experience where we're eating delicious food and appreciating that there's this diversity within our community. It's a wonderful thing, and I think it's a great thing for students to be a part of.
Right, bridging the gaps between cultures so that way we feel less isolated, and that way you're more willing to reach out to somebody, not because, oh, they have a different experience that I have, or, oh, maybe we have this shared bond over, something as simple as like food or just being around each other in a social event. That's really awesome. So what was your favorite moment from last year? What was something that stood out to you that really made you excited to bring this event back this year?
Hours before the event began, I was down in the Commons, and if you'll remember, there was flags that we hung temporarily for the event. So just a decoration, and the flags were just small flags that were hung on the ceiling. Just a really cool visual to get everybody excited about the event. And so I was down in the Commons trying to take a look at the space and think about how we were going to set up. And I overheard some students talking to each other, and the one student said, "That flag is the flag of my country." And it was just this really cool moment where a student was taking pride and sharing with their peer, their friend about where the country they identified with. And it was a great moment because that's what the event is about. It's about the diversity and celebrating and having pride and making those connections and starting conversations that maybe people wouldn't be having on a daily basis, but it lends itself to that opportunity.
Oh, yeah, I remember that too, people trying to go around and guess all the flags, and it was kind of fun because it was kind of, if you saw something you didn't recognize, maybe you look it up and learn something else about a culture that you didn't quite know before. And I thought that was a really awesome initiative, and also it just looked really cool to see all the overwhelming amount of color and different flags and stuff around the Commons. That was awesome. Is there any new points of focus this year? Anything you want to push for more this year?
Not necessarily. Really just kind of building on the momentum from last year. Whenever there's a new event, it's hard to predict how it's going to go.
And the second year is always the hardest, right? You want to keep that moving, yeah.
Absolutely. So we were very pleased with how it turned out, but now it's the pressure of, building on that momentum. So really just, more of that and also, hoping that we bring some new cultures and, that weren't represented last year and again, keeping that conversation going where students can have that experience through food of just being able to celebrate and, building upon that.
Yeah, awesome. Super exciting. So I saw that the proceeds for this event are going to a charity organization. Would you like to tell us a little bit about that charity organization and why specifically that was chosen to be benefiting from this event?
Yeah, so the committee chose Journey's End, and it's an organization in Buffalo that welcomes and supports refugees. And so we chose that so that we would have an opportunity to give back and also for the event to kind of come full circle. And so we're celebrating diversity within our school community, but then we're kind of reaching out to our greater community at large in Buffalo and finding a way to support diversity in a different way. So that's why we chose that organization.
Yeah, Journey's End really is a wonderful organization. So I was super happy to hear that because I support them too. They do awesome work in the community. So
They really do.
So what can students do to support this event and support shared decision-making team in future endeavors?
I think just coming to the event is a way that they can be supportive. We were happy that it was well attended last year. We hope we get even more students to come this year. So just spreading the word, bringing your friends, and just using it as hopefully a kickoff. I know we have Unity and Diversity in March, and we do different things to celebrate diversity. So using this event as just another one of those great things that we do here at East. And so just using the event to have fun and to build some, connections and hopefully have that positive conversation continue.
Fantastic. Flavors of East is Tuesday, February 11th in the Commons after school. There's a $2 admission fee, but after you pay that, you get to have as much delicious food as you want, which is awesome. All right. Thank you so much, Ms. Taberski, for coming in today. Please come out to Flavors of East and support efforts from Shared Decision Making Team and people like Ms. Taberski. All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Welcome back, East, and hope you enjoy. We've got our first panel for this year, right? Right, guys?
Yay.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So I had a wonderful discussion with Miss Taberski. I don't know if you've seen it. Any thoughts? Don't answer that. So for our panel today, we wanted to talk a little bit about what I talked with Miss Taberski about, which was mental health in the context of what we like to call AP culture.
The toxic AP culture.
Yes, in terms of overloading on classes, not because you necessarily want to take them, but because they look good on a resume. So we wanted to talk about everybody here's kind of experience and take on that and some positives and negatives. And as the most senior, I'd like to turn to Gabe first. Gabe, what's your opinion?
So early on in high school, I was caught in that trap, taking APs. And what I found is that in moderation, kind of like food, you could say, APs are like food, right? In moderation, they have a good purpose. They encourage you to learn. But when you load yourself up with like 6-7 APs a year, it just loses the purpose, and you don't get to really put that focus and effort into any of them, and it takes the joy out of the learning. And what I found after my sophomore year, when I decided to make a change, is that when you have less APs, you actually have more time to focus on the ones you take, which leads to more creative energy. Because ultimately, I believe the purpose of an education is to stimulate people's minds to explore what they love and like. And, with that free time, I've been able to do some more creative pursuits.
Right. And then you ran out of classes very quickly, right? I mean,
No comment.
my take on it is basically if you accelerate yourself so fast and you take all these classes so fast, there's not going to be anything left for you to take. So why rush? So when you talk about senioritis and the problem of not being motivated your senior year, I think a additive property to that is if you've taken all the classes that you want to take in the first 3 years, your fourth, you're kind of stuck taking some things you might not enjoy as much, and at what cost? Maybe to get through everything faster. I just don't think it's conducive. And when you take the classes you want to take, maybe, and you take them too fast, then you're not going to enjoy them as much because you're going to be strapped for time, as Gabe will attest to.
So I believe that every class you take, it takes not 45 but 90 minutes or even 2 hours out of your day, and that just really, you don't notice it in the afternoon, but it really adds up at like 11 p.m. And then, when you're deprived of that sleep, you don't do well in the classes, so then you have to stay up later to do more, and then it goes on, and then you're going to bed at 3 a.m. every night and struggling to even stay awake in school.
Not to say that there's anything inherently negative about AP classes. I've had a very positive experience on taking and honors classes as well. And if you're really conscious about what classes you're taking and you have a purpose for taking them, I think it's easier to do better in them as well because you're going to stay motivated. If you're taking a class because of the name alone, then it's going to be harder to stay up later to do the work, and all those problems are just going to compound, and that's going to make things more difficult.
In other words, don't do it just because all your friends are doing it. You can
Right.
be cool by yourself.
Right, you can be the cool one. You can break the cycle.
Cool,
Be cool.
Cool.
So I want to toss it to a potential solutions that's been implemented in a few states to combat some mental health issues. I want to toss it to Gabe real quick to explain that.
So in Utah and Oregon recently, their schools have adopted a policy where students are allowed to take days off for mental health reasons, similar to having the flu or the cold. Mm-hmm. And the rationale behind this is, while in the past students did take days off because of mental health reasons, they were too afraid to talk about it, so they'd be like, I have the cold today. But this way it destigmatizes it and, creates this conducive environment of getting help.
Mm-hmm. All right, so James, do you think this is a solution you'd like to see implemented, or if there's any caveats you'd like added to prove its effectiveness, or what's your take on this?
Overall, I'm pretty sure it's going to be a good thing that just about every place should have. Mental health is definitely a real and pressing issue, especially with the AP culture we've talked about, not getting enough sleep. Like, even if you don't really need it for like your mental health, but just I need sleep, it probably is a good idea. I really don't see many bad things about it. Like, you might say it might be exploitable for just not wanting to go to school. But even then, like, if you don't even want to go to school, that's probably an issue.
Yeah, I'd like to add on to that because that's something that I've thought about a lot too. And I think that one improvement that you could make is making an element of having to follow up with somebody like a school social worker or a school psychologist or something like that, to talk about your issue and make sure that, taking a day off doesn't lead to more days off and a spiral downward and not wanting to come to school, and making that idea of not seeing school as the problem to take a break from, but being able to sit back and reevaluate and come back and maybe be able to get some help here that's provided by people like the people that work in guidance. And I think it could promote people to seek help more if they're able to take a step back for a minute and reevaluate and come back prepared to have that conversation. All right, well, I hope everybody watching learned a lot today about some of the mental health resources they have at the school, and maybe looking to the future, some things we could change to improve mental health at schools. But I hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you guys next time. Unless there's anything like to add.
No,
Nah, we're
you
good.
said that beautifully.
Oh, thank you, Gabe. Thank you.
You are welcome.
Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Tico, tico.